Macmillan Audio presents A Monk's Guide to Happiness by Gelong Thubten. Read for you by Gelong Thubten. This program includes meditation exercises at the end of each chapter. These exercises are collected in full at the end of the program, where they are paced so that you can follow along with a guided meditation.
This book is dedicated to Akong Tulku Rinpoche and to my mother. Chapter 1. What is Happiness? In June 2009, I emerged from a meditation retreat that had lasted 4 years. It was an intensive program alongside 20 other monks in a remote old farmhouse on the Isle of Arran in Scotland. We were completely cut off from the outside world, with no phones, internet, or newspapers. Food was brought in by a caretaker who lived outside the walls of the retreat, and we had a strict schedule of between 12 and 14 hours meditation per day, mostly practiced alone in our rooms. This program went on in the same way every day for 4 years. We were allowed to talk a little to each other at meal times or in the short breaks between sessions, but things intensified in the second year when we took a vow of silence for 5 months. I had never attempted such a long retreat before, and it was incredibly hard. I remember thinking it was like having open heart surgery with no anesthetic. You're backed into the corner with your most painful thoughts and feelings, with no distraction or escape. This type of retreat is a radical method of meditation training found in many Tibetan Buddhist monasteries. The completely immersive environment and intense schedule of long meditation sessions push the meditator to make friends with their own mind. At times, it was the unhappiest period of my life, yet in the end, it taught me a lot about happiness. I learned that happiness is a choice and something that we can tap into within ourselves. The other monks and I had no idea what was happening in the outside world. Several things occurred during this period which have impacted upon our culture, including game-changing technologies such as the launch and widespread use of the iPhone, the arrival of YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as major historical events such as the election of President Obama, the financial crisis, and the execution of Saddam Hussein. Our retreat teacher would come in to check on us every few months and did hint at some pieces of news. We were told there was this thing called Facebook where people ask you to be friends with them and you feel too guilty to say no. Hearing this, we simply stared in wide-eyed wonder. When I came out back into the normal world, one of the main things I noticed was the speed of things. Everything and everyone moved so fast. Smartphones had become ubiquitous. The BlackBerry was now a dinosaur. Walking through London, it felt as if I had landed in a zombie apocalypse. It seemed people were wandering about in a hypnotic trance, their faces buried in screens. I also noticed that in the London Underground train stations, the advertising posters lining the walls beside the escalators were now moving digital images, and I felt dizzy as they flew past me. People out here had maybe not felt the temperature rising, but my retreat and re-emergence gave me a fresh perspective on how things had sped up. I also sensed a change in mood. Most of the news now had a slightly hysterical tone, dominated by horror stories constantly invading people's phones, leaving them with no escape. In the 21st century, our relationship with information has completely changed. We know far too much. Even the way we consume information in fleeting, bite-sized chunks through scrolling and swiping has altered the landscape of how we process reality. Emerging from the retreat, I was also struck by how people's use of instant gratification as a means of feeling happy had reached new heights, and how dissatisfied they were still feeling. As I started to interact with things, I got a strong sense that meditation was
Sample complete. Ready to continue?